In this video, we're going to be discussing negotiating with landlords when it comes to taking their properties as Airbnbs. Now, building strong relationships with landlords is crucial to the success of your Airbnb business. In this video, we're going to be discussing tips for successful negotiations and building long-term relationships with landlords. Let's get into this. Okay, so welcome back to this video. I absolutely love this one because we're going to be talking about negotiations and building relationships, which are two things that I absolutely love doing. How do we get the landlord's trust? How do we get to that position, where we're able to really have strong relationships, but also negotiating, so we're able to get, really, really good deals, build great relationships with the landlords, and then we're able to scale our portfolios. So let's get into the first one. Now, when you're starting any relationship, or if you want to call it negotiations, the first thing that you need to understand is what is their motivation? What have you done for me lately? You've got to understand that ultimately, when you're speaking to someone else at the other side of the table, they've got their own ambitions, they've got their own motivations, they've got the reasons why they want to do something or why they think they don't want to do something. Now, without an understanding of what those motivations are, it's going to be difficult unless you can read minds. It's going to be difficult to understand which buttons to press to ultimately get to the end goal that you want for yourself. So if you don't understand their motivations, then that negotiation is dead on arrival. So the very first thing you got to do is understand their motivation. You got to ask open questions that are going to allow them to talk. Right? Why did you get into this in the first place? When you first go into property, what was the end goal? What are you trying to achieve? What difficulties have you found at the moment? These type of questions, it's not yes or no questions, it's questions that's opening them up, and they're going to talk and they're going to let you know what's in their mind, the reasons why they're going to property, what their goals are, the things that they still want to achieve, the difficulties that they're actually finding at the moment. Only then, and then alone, are you then able to use all of that information that you've gathered to start planning the best way to position your business. Ultimately, the business is what the business is. What you offer is what you offer. But when you understand someone's motivations, you're then able to use that language to explain exactly what this business is and what that business can do for them. The second thing is then obviously negotiating terms. The exciting part. What do you do? What does your business offer, and exactly what are you going to be charging the landlords for your services? Ultimately, you are the service provider. What happens in this situation is people tend to shrink up, start to panic because of the desperation for the deal. And, when you're in a negotiation, the person who feels like they have more to lose, is the person who's going to give up quicker. But if you just understand the value that you are presenting, this is why we're not talking about rent to rent here. Because with the rent to rent, what's really in it for the landlord? They're going to get rent, which they can get in the marketplace anyway, right? But when you're doing management, there is so much that you are offering that you need to be strong and steadfast in what you're demanding in return for the services that you're offering. Because the reality is they're still going to be better off. Right? So what you're getting is inconsequential because here's the numbers between what they're going to get in the marketplace and what they're going to get working with you and working on your model. So understanding that the strength that you have, understanding the value proposition you're bringing to the marketplace allows you to be more steadfast. But even if you're not quite sure of that, I'm telling you now, you need to understand this is the value that you bring and ensure that you go into this negotiation when it comes to your terms, go into it with confidence. So that's the second thing. The next one is then building trust and rapport. Without this, really nothing is going to happen because these people are going into a whole new situation. Like right now is absolutely perfect if you're doing the Airbnb management because everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about landlords struggling. Everybody's talking about landlords need to look for an alternative way, to generate an income. So they might not know what that solution is, but you do. You do know what that solution is. And being able to understand and use the language and actually use the rent to rent. This situation that other people are doing, here's what they're doing, and they're simply taking advantage because they're going to generate all of this income and you're just getting the rent. But, Mr. Landlord, we don't want to do that because we understand, how hard and how difficult it's been for you to get to the position that you're in. So what we want to do is to manage that whole process for you so you actually get to benefit from all of this extra uplift that you're going to generate from your property. Now, them just hearing that, knowing that there were two routes you could have gone, but you've gone down the route that maybe you're going to generate a little bit less, but actually you're putting more money into the pocket, but also educating them on all of these tax breaks that they're not going to get because they've chosen to go for this model. It is absolutely vital. And when you're able to do that from day one and they understand what you have done, the choice that you've given them, that they didn't know was actually available, but you've chosen the lesser option for yourself, that trust is built right from the start, and that's going to become very, very difficult to break over time. And then you go start, the fourth one is establishing open lines of communication. Once you're in this position, now you want to make sure the communication lines are open, that you're always in conversation and you're always keeping them up to date with what's happening, because this is the quickest way, again, to break that relationship. Because if something happens, they don't find out about what's happened to 3, 4, 5 weeks or whatever it is, and then they have had to ask you what's happened before you disclose the information to them. That's already a problem. So a part of what we do is actually managing, yes, the properties, but also managing our relationships and communication with our landlords and investors, because that's what allows that trust to continue to build, to continue to strengthen. And ultimately, what that's going to do is bring us more and more and more referrals in the future, because once we're doing great work for them, they typically tend to have more properties. And they typically also tend to know people who have also got properties as well. And that's how your business will grow in a very, very short period of time. And then the fifth one is negotiating renewal terms. So when the contract's coming to an end, typically what you're going to find is, maybe some landlords want to squeeze you a little bit more because now they've had a little taste and they understand, what the benefits are in there for them. They want a little bit more. But again, here's why you want to do this at the very start, because at that point, it might be a little bit more difficult, right? To renegotiate, to renegotiate more than what the landlord's actually looking for, because they not also understand the figures. They not also understand how much money you've been able to generate over that period of time. They probably understand that they can squeeze you a little bit more. So that's why you want to do this right at the very start. Typically, what we would look at is a 36-month contract, not really any different from the rent to rent. Can have a break clause in there. I did a presentation not too long ago talking about this, because when we're doing the management, we're coming in, we're implementing a lot of things that we know through our expertise that's going to allow that listing to get eyeballs on it. It's going to attract people to it, and it's going to mean, that property is going to be generating a lot of income. Now, that can take us a month, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 2 months to do. Now, imagine not having a contract in place, and it's actually, we're good now, so I'll take the property back. We can't have that, right? So we've got to have a contract in place over a period of time. So typically have, 24, 36 months with a break clause of 12, 18 months. So at least for that period of time, you're going to have these robust earnings based on the terms that you've already negotiated at the start as well. So you master these 5 steps, and you are going to be surprised how quickly your property portfolio, your Airbnb portfolio is going to start to grow, because not just are the relationships with the landlords that you're speaking with going to become stronger, but they're also going to refer other people to yourself as well. And then everyone's happy. So that's it. Again, if there's any extra tips in this video that perhaps I've missed, or something that you're doing that's really working for you, then put them in the comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to look through that and maybe even include that in a video in the future. Apart from that, I will see you all on the other side.